Hi there, Sue Harbinale with the Full Circle Business coming to you with another episode of Women for Women. And today my guest is Linnea Blair, a very long and old time friend, and I'm going to let her tell you what she does and why she does it. So welcome, Linnea.
Thanks, Suhaiba. It's great to be here with you today. Um, my name is, she said, is Linnea Blair. My company is Advisors on Target, and I am a business coach and consultant. And I've been working with small businesses for the last 20 plus years in helping them grow their business. My business focuses on working with um, painting contractors and home improvement contractors mainly. I do work with any type of business, but those are my two focus groups, and much like Suhaiba. And what I provide is strategic planning, financial management, and with that, kind of the full complement of coaching and consulting around everything that happens in your business, from people to systems to marketing as well. But I'm probably best known for financial management because it's something that I'm very good at helping people with. And it's really a key item or area in your business that you really need to focus on in order to succeed and hit your goals.
And your background is, for everybody that doesn't know, as a CPA originally, correct? So
I
you're
did work at a CPA
yeah,
firm
right.
for many years, so I do have an enrolled agent credential, and I understand accounting and tax pretty well. So
Which
I've
most of us
I've been involved
contractors
in
do not.
right. So I've been in that industry since the late 80s, I guess I would say. And then I made the shift to coaching and consulting in the late 90s around 2000 and launched Advisors on Target in 2003.
Right, which takes us to my story, and you can chime in on how we met. So I believe my father in the painting company, he was one of the founding members of the Advisors on Target group when we started. And so I joined the company, and then there were two conferences per year. So whichever was the next conference that you held that year that I began, we came out to San Diego,
I
and it
remember
was
that.
4 days. So we had the new members workshop, which was a full day. I think there was an office managers workshop, which was a full day. And then I sat in with the owners next to my father for 2 days. So it was 4 days of numbers, numbers, and more numbers. So needless to say, I think my brain was a little fried by the end of it all. But I like to tease that I got my undergraduate degree from Goucher College and I got my master's degree from Linnea here. So she's been the one that's helped me over the years with not having a accounting background or a business background, learn that side of the business. So thank you for that and for your continued support as we continue into the years to come. And on that note, for you, and you mentioned a little bit mostly working with contractors. What's a good fit look like for you, though, in terms of what kind of business, where you are, what you're kind of willing and not willing to do? I think we always tease that numbers don't lie, but I always tag on that accurate numbers don't lie. So your numbers have to be accurate first before
They
you can
do.
really delve in and take a look at them, and are really a critical part of running a successful business. So what's a good fit like for you with regards to working with another business to help them reach their goals?
Well, I think the first thing for me is that the business owner is really eager to move forward to achieve their goals. So working with somebody that's kind of half-hearted about it is not really a good fit for me. So I really want to work with people who are ready to step in and grow their business. They have a vision and goals and they want to reach them. And that's the most interesting for me and where I can make the most difference for people. But in terms of size, perhaps it doesn't really matter that much. But I would say people that are probably on the in the space between 500,000 and 1 million in revenue, or the people that are between 1 million and 2 million in revenue,
Right.
those are really good starting places for me to work with people. I have worked with people that are at a smaller level than that. And if they're eager and really wanting to move forward, that's a good place as well.
Right. So, and I think what's funny, we've worked with you as long as I've been around and will be for the foreseeable future. And I tease, I don't look that old, but we survived the recession of 08, 09. And we also
Yes, you
survived the
did.
pandemic, and not only really survived, I would say, but we got through it a little bit less, beaten up and tattered and torn than some other businesses. And I would credit a lot of that to Linnea. I think in both cases, I remember we kind of saw it coming a little bit, and we literally sat down and looked at the budget and said, okay, let's do some what if scenarios. Let's make a contingency budget. Let's see what if this happens, how it'll impact the rest of your year. And obviously the pandemic was a little bit more relevant and closer. Although I do still remember 08, 09 pretty well. And it's funny because I don't have this like visceral reaction to it like a lot of people do. And it's because we kind of took a look at things and kind of came up with a game plan, or how are we going to ride this wave a little less, sporadically as some other people did. So I think knowing your numbers and looking at them, on a regular basis really does make a big difference in kind of reaching those goals more successfully. I tease, and my mom is the same way. She's like, until you put it on paper, it's not real. So I think it is really important to have it in front of you and to kind of review it, which is what Linnea does with us, to make sure that you're on track. And I would say also, with you dealing with so many other contractors, you kind of see kind of patterns that we wouldn't see necessarily
Yes, I
as
do.
single business owners, and you're able to kind of help on that front, as well as like, oh, this is what I've seen trending, and and these are some suggestions. So like she said, it's not just numbers. You are known as the numbers person, but it is like in my world, being full circle, I feel like you're full circle too in terms of your consulting and the help that you provide to your clients. So and speaking of trends, anything with regards to tips or things you've seen kind of consistently that you would encourage people to kind of take a closer look at or be prepared for, or either something coming? We keep hearing about this recession, and who knows if it's real or not, or just something in general that you've seen in your years in business that's kind of a common hiccup somewhere along the line for contractors with regards to kind of numbers and budgets and things like that.
Well, I guess, don't get me started, because there's maybe
I do
there's definitely
you can
a
give it
lot
up
of
to
things.
3. Yeah, go for 3 if you want. So my other series
Okay.
is 3 and 3. So
Right, that's fine. Um, I was just laughing because there seems like there's many places where people can have pitfalls in their
right,
business. But you, like me, are a planner, and
right,
I think planning is one of the very most important things. And that's one of the places that I can help people, because they may have been just kind of running their business by the seat of their pants, as I say,
right,
um, for several years, and maybe have been successful at it to a point. But then knowing that they really need to start planning and putting some infrastructure in place. I think that's one of the key things that people need to realize. They need to spend time planning. And often they're not quite sure how to start planning. And so they kind of put it to the background and just kind of forge ahead with the things that are in front of them to do. So I think one mistake or tip I would have is for people that don't spend time planning, that it's really critical that you spend time doing that every week, looking at your numbers, seeing how you're doing. And it can be a variety of numbers, not just your financials, but how many people you have working in the field, your leads that are coming in, how you're doing on your jobs, or do you have enough people to do the work that you have planned? There's so many different things that you need to review and look at on a weekly and monthly basis.
right.
So that's one.
And on the
And kind of
planning
with that,
front, I was going to say, when do
go
you
ahead.
recommend for planning starting for next year? So I think that's something people might put off a little too long as well, potentially.
Well, yes, they can and do, and this is a great time of year. So it's kind of great that you had me on
Right,
this month, because this month, next month, I think are the perfect times for businesses to be planning for the coming year,
right,
because you want to have a plan in place and know what you need to do now, so you can start planning, um, doing the marketing things that you need to do. You've talked about that before.
right.
Um, and the plan for that needs to be now, so that you're not just thinking in January, oh, my business is slow, should I be doing something now? If you had the plan in place. Same thing with budgets, which is something I work with. Putting together your budget for next year is going to help you know, are there infrastructure purchases I need to make? Do I need more vehicles? How many people am I going to need to hire? And when do I need to hire them? And those type of things you can be planning for now, so that you're not playing catch up when you get to the spring.
Right. Yeah. So October, November, and I always tease and tell my clients as well that you think, oh, I'll do it between the holidays. And no, you won't. So if you can get most of it done before Thanksgiving, I think that puts you in a much better place to start the year off successfully. Because once Thanksgiving hits, especially if you have kids and, Christmas and you want to take some time off, the end of the year is just gone before you know it. So I always encourage before Thanksgiving, at least get started so you're not completely behind, come the end of the year.
I agree. We always think we have more time around the holidays or after the holidays to do things, but when it comes down to it, we want to spend time with our families. So
yeah, for sure. All right. So tip number 2, what's next?
I would say that one of the things that people don't pay attention enough to is spending time training their people, helping their people to be successful, because having your people be a good cohesive team is something that is going to help you succeed in your business. And I know this is something that you focus on as well, so I'm sure you're in agreement with me. But one of the things I see that people don't do, in addition to not planning, is they don't meet with their people enough, their key people, to guide them, mentor them, keep them on track with what their goals are. And then otherwise, you find that people are not succeeding in their role, not doing what you had hoped they would do. And then I see people starting to blame their employees for not performing the way they want them to, but yet they haven't given them that support and structure and meeting time that they need every week. I was just working with one of my clients recently who had not been meeting with his salesperson, and the salesperson was kind of flailing. And once they started meeting and focusing on the salesperson's goals and giving him tips and help in what he was doing, he started to blossom and his sales have come up. He's starting to hit his goals again. And that's just an example of the benefit of spending that time meeting with your key people.
Yeah, and I think it's funny. I read a post on LinkedIn this morning about a guy who was saying he doesn't ever meet with his employees, and that was like his big, claim to fame. And I think, unfortunately, the word meeting and meetings have gotten a bad rap, but I do think you still need to check in. Like, is the leader, your team needs that guidance. They need that encouragement. They need, in my world, I call it roles and responsibilities. So let's get really clear about what your role is. Let's get really clear about what you're responsible for. And then a term that you haven't used yet today, actually, but you use a lot is KPIs, like the key performance indicators. How are we going to measure your success? And being really clear up front about what that looks like. And then, like you said, I tell people now, just call it a check-in. Don't call it a meeting if you don't like that word anymore. But you do need to
Yeah.
check in, especially the bigger your company gets. And, and you're talking about working with people who are ready to really get, dialed in on their numbers and kind of grow and scale their business. And I can tell you from experience, as your business gets bigger and you have more people, that you even need more clarity around who's doing what and how you're going to measure their success. And they need that, encouragement, and that just to know that you're, not that you're watching over and micromanaging, but that you care and that you want them to succeed. So call it a check-in. and yes, definitely continue to do it. I also tease that if you do it regularly, it's short and sweet. The
Right.
people that don't meet, then you finally sit down and it's like, oh, we haven't met for 4 months now. We've got all of this information to go through. And then you're like, the 3-hour meeting that everybody hates. So when you do it, that's my key actually on my consulting side of things, is the consistency. that's really what leads to success, is figuring out what you need to do and then doing it consistently. So, all right, any final tips
Right.
that you can think of?
Well, well, you mentioned consistency, and I think in working with your financials and your KPIs of any sort, uh, looking at them consistently, making sure that you have the accurate numbers in front of you is really key, because when you're looking at correct numbers, accurate numbers,
Right.
you can make an analysis on, am I on track or off track with where I need to be with my top line revenue, my gross profit or productivity, my bottom line profit. If I'm on track, great. What can I do to keep the momentum going? And if I'm off track, what are the things that I need to look at and do and change in order to get myself back on track and to succeed in what I want to do for the year? So that consistency of reviewing the KPIs, looking at your numbers, analyzing them, and then making a plan to move forward is really key.
Right. One of the other things, and I am a little bit of a data geek, is that the more you do it, the more data you have to go back and look at and see, even like we talked about trends that you see, but also just trends within your business itself. We know now what our 3 toughest months of the year are because we've been tracking the data for years. And so we know, like you were saying, planning ahead. For us, it's usually February and then April and then August. And if you're wondering why we're slow in August, it's because we live in Philadelphia and everybody goes to the beach for the summer and they're not here. So, but we know that on the painting business. And so we're able to plan ahead of that. And that goes back to the marketing and 6 to 8 weeks out, which I tell people all the time. And you're able to kind of combat those highs and lows because you've paid attention to the numbers and the trends. So there are those internal trends in your business that you can see the more you track. And then there's the trends from, the industry that you get insight from by having someone who works with multiple businesses, and sees things that we wouldn't see otherwise as kind of individuals. So that's definitely been helpful for us over the years with, like I said, regards to overall success and also navigating a little bit of, trying times with recessions and pandemics and unexpected instances, and how do you navigate through all of that? So,
Right. And it is helpful to know how other people in your industry are affected in different situations like that. And there's definitely trends nationwide even that I've found over the years of things that are happening in the business world, things that are happening in the economy, and things that are happening in your particular industry.
right. And I will say, we didn't mention this, that Linnea is in San Diego, and I think a lot of stuff happens in California and then moves across the country. So she gets to see it first and kind of tip us off as to what's coming. Because I think I always tease, I think when I had Carolyn on, the legal consult and lawyer for subcontractors and contractors, she said California and Connecticut are the worst 2 states to work in as a contractor because of all of the rules and regulations around everything. So I think sometimes where you are helps as well. And kind of you see things a little bit sooner than the rest of us might see or notice them. So that's been a benefit too.
Right. I think that's true. I think you're right. Sometimes some of the coastal areas definitely have more rules and regulations, or there's things happening that are sooner or later going to translate across the country into other parts. Or at least are things people should be aware of and thinking about, even if they don't have those same regulations in their state.
Right. And I'm also a big advocate for not ever going it alone. So my other career, and everybody always comments on all the books behind me, I am a writer at heart. And when I started writing, I joined a group right away. And I had a mentor and I had actually, they were all women, moms. We were all writing for kids. So I always had that support group of, another group of writers to work with. And in the painting industry, it used to be the PDCA. Now it's
Mhm.
PCA. We've been members forever. Like I said, we've been with Linnea forever. And having that community has been, I would say, probably priceless, because in the contracting world, I think we all experience the same things to one degree or another at some point or another in our business. And somebody's probably already been there, done that. So I always tease and I tell my daughter this all the time. There are some lessons you don't need to learn the hard way. You can go ask and somebody can tell you, oh, yeah, I tried that and this happened or that happened and this worked or that worked. So I'm a big advocate of definitely, like I said, having that community and having the support and the mentors and the coaches that you need to kind of be successful. So thank you again for all of your help over the years. And on that note, for those who are interested in learning more about who you are, what you do, if it is going to be a good fit for them, where's the best place for them to find you?
Well, you can certainly find me on my website, advisorsontarget.com.
Okay.
That's the best place. My email is, you can reach me at info@advisorsontarget.com, or on my website, I do have a contact us place, and you can email me that way through the website. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook. So either of those places, but I would say the website's probably best.
And remind me again, I do discovery calls now. You do discovery calls still as well with potential
I
new
do.
clients? Okay. So they can do that
Yes,
and have a
yes.
conversation. Okay. I know I tease. I
Right.
haven't
I
done it
offer.
yet, but I think people think discovery call is like just someone trying to sell you something. And in our world, it's like, no, let's have a conversation and let me just help you a little bit. And then you can decide if you want more help. And then we'll go to the next level from there. So, and that's a link on your website as well to schedule
Oh,
that.
well, yes, there's not the actual schedule on there, but you can email me from the website on my contact form and let me know that you'd like I call it complimentary consultation. For me, 30 minutes, that's complimentary, and I promise to give you my best thoughts and give you as much value in that time, whether you want to move forward or not. So
I know I tease my favorite thing is to be helpful, so I can't help but not, and I think you're the same way, give you some suggestions as to what you could do, whether or not, we work together officially or not. If you tell me where you are, my brain just goes into problem solving mode. And then, you get a few
yeah,
tips
mine
from that
too.
as well. Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you again for being on. And like I said, you were right. This is the kind of the perfect time of year. And if you're watching this later in the year, it's all good. But October, November is the best time to start planning for next year and making sure you're ready to go on January 1st as opposed to waiting for January 1st. And if you do need help with numbers and just getting a better grasp on your business and where you are and where you want to be potentially. And I will tell one final story. So Linnea has and I'm not sure if you still use this very much, but we used years ago a 10-year projection tool where you plug in where
Yes.
you are now and you put in your percentage of growth and then it does all these calculations. And so we did this years ago now, and where we were in 10 years was way bigger than we actually wanted to be. And I said, oh, wait a minute. I think we had 57 employees or something when it did all the math and the calculations. So sometimes doing those kind of exercises helps you figure out what you don't want just as much as what you do want. But I think, like you said in the very beginning, and Cindy and Bright Bookkeeping said when she did her interview with me, you have to know your numbers first to really know what's next and what's potential, where you could go, where you don't want to go, and then kind of craft a plan to help you get there. So, again, if you need help with anything financial and you also want the support of someone who's been in the industry for a really long time and knows, like I said, the ins and outs of sales and marketing and numbers and all of that good stuff, then you can go find Linnea on her website and have a conversation. And we will see you back here again for the next episode of Women for Women soon.
Thanks, Fiba.
Thank you.